So I've spent the last month using the DZO Vespid Cinema 2 Prime Kit. Every focal length got real everyday use, and that's 18, 24, 35, 50, 85, and 105. I have the full kit. So I've tried these out in different scenarios, run and gun, commercial use, interviews, stuff like that. Some of the stuff I'll share in this video, some of the stuff I cannot, you know how that goes. But I do have a lot of examples that you can tell me in the comment section below what your thoughts are on this. Now, I didn't have the cook data in mind, so I was not able to capture and work with the metadata, but I was able to use these, like I said, on my Blackmagic bodies and get a really good sample of work for you to take a look at. Shout out to Adorama for sending this out. As always, honest and transparent review. Doesn't matter where I get the gear from. It's always going to be a customer, buyer focused review. So let's jump into it. The beautiful thing about this kit is that since the colors are so close to each other, you can tell any story that you want with this kit. And what I mean by that, you have every range from the 105 to the 85 to the 50 to the 35 to the 24 to the 18 millimeter to really tell a story. And you have a 1.9 aperture that allows you to punch or separate that character or object as far as you want from the background. I've thoroughly enjoyed kind of playing with each of these and understanding the different, characteristics of each lens and how it plays out in the storyline. These are so close in look and character, you really can't tell the difference at all, minus the focal point. The thing that surprised me the most about using these wasn't necessarily the visual quality of the lenses. It's more along the lines of how easy it is to live day to day with these lenses. The size, the weight, all of that is set up for speed of use. There's zero barrier of entry here for newbies, for people coming over from different systems, different lens kits. Ease of use is the biggest surprise that I would thought, even for someone coming from predominantly autofocus environment. The length and the size and the weight and different things like that, all of that is the same. So follow focus or hand, that was one of the biggest surprises for me. When you think about cinema lenses, most people think about, big movie sets, commercial work, different things like that. But because these are budget, they're around the same price as a photo lens, I'm able to have basically a movie setup ready in my hand. And I got a chance to catch my daughter, who's a 6th grader, get on the court for the first time and get her first bump of the season on 8th grade volleyball. And it was a really nice moment. She got in position, she got it, the coaches, everybody's excited. They got a return, they scored, and just like that, she was responsible for her first point of the season. Now, what better way than to catch this than on cinema glass? Her very own movie of her very first bump. Before we get into charts and specs, let's talk about how these actually perform and what my experience is after a month. So a lot of people have been asking, are the Vespid 2s sharper? Do they still have that vintage warmth? And how's the focus throw, the breathing, and the build compared to the originals? After using these for a full month, here's kind of some of the things that I liked, some of the things that I disliked, some of the things that kind of caught me off guard. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. One of the biggest things that stood out to me is consistency. So they have the same thread in the front, they have the same length, they pretty much weigh the exact same. So whether you're putting these on a gimbal, whether you're putting these on a rig, you basically can take one off and put the other one on without having to rebalance very much at all, if at all. Follow focus, you don't have to change it because the gears are sitting at the same spot. So that ability to not have to adjust the focus follow, not having to rebalance, things like that over the last month really increases the speed that you can output content because you're not doing those little exponential things that add up over time.
Drifting, and the day starts coming, color and wonder in eyes, our minds are running, shifting, in the garden humming, and the roots are tangling our hearts like butterflies. I'm 7 miles high. Up here I don't get tired. I'm up here and
So no, this isn't a controlled environment, and I'm not using a flashlight. I am pointing this directly at the sun, but in that environment, it shoots completely fine when just shooting at the subject and not pointing it at the light. So I don't know, you let me know your thoughts. I know some people really like the flare test. I've always been like the type of person to just kind of shoot. Another thing that I think is very important to state here is the price. I mean, obviously, you know, the price comes into play a lot. Sometimes when you're a freelancer and you do a lot of rentals and stuff like that, less so because it's, you know, it's a write-off and things like that. But if you're looking to own something and consistently have, you know, a look, you know, a lot of times you want to create your look, your art, you know, your art. The price is something we got to definitely talk about here. The average price of $1,200 for each of these different lenses, or, you know, you save a lot if you do the whole kit. That's something that has to be talked about when you talk about the surprising, because one of the biggest compliments that I can give to this set is that after a few weeks of use, I stopped thinking about the gear. Anytime you try something new, you know this, right? Anytime you try something new, there's a learning curve of learning that new gear and how long it takes to master that gear before you can start feeling like you're creating something worth using. And so the biggest compliment and biggest surprise that I can say is that after a few weeks, I wasn't thinking about learning the lenses, learning the manual flow, learning how to use these because of the ease of use. And that goes a long way in talking about the real user experience of these lenses. A lot of people are going to focus on the specs, but the real user experience of these lenses is the ability to forget about the gear and just start creating. I didn't get a chance to use the Cinema Set 1. I didn't get to use the first Vespids, and hopefully DZO, after seeing this review, sends out the first ones, because I would like to compare them. I will say that these still have a lot of character compared to some of my Sony G Master lenses. The Sony G Master lenses are super clinical, right? But these, when you put these on, it's instant character, and that's kind of what I've thoroughly enjoyed about these, is that when shooting these, it doesn't matter what you're shooting, it feels like you're watching television, it feels like you're watching a movie, it feels like you're watching some type of production. So if you're worried about whether or not these have lost the character from Vespid 1s, I can't tell you per se that that has happened because I haven't tried those, but I can tell you that there is a lot of character and I enjoy looking through the lens on these. Pun intended. What makes these easy to use is that they all weigh around the same and they're around the same size. So 752.7 on the 18 millimeter, and the 24 millimeter, give or take, is going to be 761.1 grams. The 35 millimeter is going to be 782.9 grams. So they're all creeping up just a little bit. The 50 millimeter is 821.2 grams. The 85 millimeter is the heaviest at 849.8, and then the 105 is 823.9. So all similar weights make it easy to use on a gimbal without extra rebalancing. And you notice that the front elements are different on some of these. Some of them are concave, some of them are flat. And my theory is that that makes sure that you can keep these the same length, and so that there's less rebalancing. Having these at the same length keeps the gear pieces in place so that you don't have to adjust your follow focus when connecting these to either a wireless or a manual follow focus, and it just makes it easier to use. And again, that goes back to my theory on why these are so easy to use and live with on a day-to-day basis, because they all are around the same weight, the gear marks are around the same space, so there's not very much changing that you have to do in between these. As far as the way that these look, I enjoy the way that they look. I like the font and the legends. I'm okay with the logo being large. It's not like a microphone where I'm on a podcast and you can see the Shure brand posted on every video that I make. In regard, these are sitting on my camera, so you never actually see that. But I do like that they identify what lenses they are from a distance. So if you have multiple different lenses, these are perfect, especially if you have the Vespid 1s versus the Vespid 2s. These can quickly tell you what the differences are by the legends and how large the logos are. And then the bright font and the bright legends allow you to really see the aperture, the zoom range, or the focus range, etc. So I like the way that these look. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Focus breathing. As far as focus breathing, what I can tell you about focus breathing is there has been times where shooting wide open at 1.9, where it's not capturing because the field of view is very thin. Now, I think that's less to do with the actual lenses themselves and more to do with my experience with pulling focus as I started my career using autofocus, photography focused lenses like the G Master 24 and 35 and et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's more to do with that and less to do with the actual lenses themselves, the times that I've missed focus, so to speak. And the fact that I'm using these in a non-traditional cinema setup, right? I'm using these in like basketball clinics and photography, videography and things like in sports videography, volleyball, basketball, things like that. And I'm pulling focus and I'm learning that skill set on the go. So I wouldn't say that the focus breathing is 0 because I have experienced that, right? And so that's going to come down to some of your experience and how well you do at this. But I will say that put these lenses in the hands of an experienced user and even a novice like myself, and you're going to get fantastic results over and over again. So focus breathing, minimal to 0 is what I would say. Who are these for? I think these are for folks that really need a set that gives you reliability, consistency. Like if you value consistent color across multiple focal points and things like that, then these are perfect for you. Also, someone that is looking to get into cinema glass for the first time, moving away from that photography style glass in the autofocus world like myself, I think these are perfect for those folks that need that kind of kit that allows you to have a multi-camera setup at different focal points for your interview setups, your run and gun setups. What DZO got right with these is that these give you real world results at a pro level for a fraction of the price, that caters to both, your entry level all the way up to your experienced filmmakers. After a month of shooting with the DZO Vespid2 Cine lenses, there isn't one particular feature that stands out that says, yep, that's the reason why I like it. In fact, it's the balance, it's the overall balance. These make commercial work, high-end production work feel approachable. No matter what your setup is or what your skill set is, the ease of use of this, the consistency in color, the size, the weight, the balance, all of those things that I keep repeating, is the reason that I think that these are perfect setup. So yeah, if this video has been helpful and you want to watch more content like this, consider subscribing, joining the Cosey Coalition, hit that subscribe button below. And as always, stay cozy in that crazy world, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.